does this world endure. Only an instant does this world endure. This is a thought which can be used to say that death and sorrow are the certain lot of all who come here. For joys are gone before they are possessed or even grasped. Yet this is also the idea that lets no false perception, lets no false perception keep us in its hold, nor represent more than a passing cloud, nor represent more than a passing cloud upon a sky eternally serene. And it is this serenity we seek, unclouded, obvious, and sure today. Only an instant does this world endure. Only an instant does this world endure. We seek your holy world today. We seek your holy world today. For we, your loving sons, have lost our way a while. For we, your loving sons, have lost our way a while. But we have listened to your voice and learned exactly what to do. We have learned what to do to be restored to heaven, to be restored to heaven and our true identity. And we give thanks today. The world endures but for an instant, and would go beyond that tiny instant to eternity. We give thanks today. The world endures but for an instant. We would go beyond the tiny instant to eternity. Only an instant does this world endure. Only an instant does this world endure. Only an instant does this world endure. Well, thank you all so much for joining me here studying Lesson 300 in A Course in Miracles, workbook for students, printed by the Foundation for Inner Peace. It's the version we're reading through this year. Here on Saturday, October the 26th of 2024, I'm Miracle Willie, forgiveness teacher from the Ozarks. Here on Lesson 300, we just sang it, but let's just read through it one more time. Only an instant does this world endure. This is the thought which can be used to say that death and sorrow are the certain lot of all who come here, for their joys are gone before they are possessed or even grasped. Yet this is also the idea that lets no false perception keep us in its hold, nor represent more than a passing cloud upon a sky eternally serene. And it is this serenity we seek, unclouded, obvious, and sure today. So, you know, one thing we learned from the Bible is, and this shall pass. And we're learning that it's just an instant. When you think about your eternal state, a life of 100 years is just an instant. Just an instant. So if you're going through something you don't particularly care for, learn to love it, learn to appreciate it. But while you're learning, remind yourself, Jesus thought it was important for us to think about that only an instant does this world endure. The dream of pain and sin and death, it seems to be like it's a long time, many years, just an instant. We seek your holy world today, the real world. For we, your loving sons, have lost our way a while. We forgot to listen to the voice for peace, to know what to do. But now we've learned to listen. And it's taken the time to listen. You're taking your longer period in the morning for a few minutes, and in the evening for a few minutes, and then throughout the day for a few seconds. And just to bring your mind to the idea again, only an instant does this world endure. And take a few moments to give God thanks that this is only lasts a few moments and then it will pass. and not only giving God thanks, but asking for direction in those hourly pauses throughout the day. We seek your holy world today, for we, your loving sons, have lost our way a while. But we have listened to your voice and learned exactly what to do to be restored to heaven and our true identity. And we give thanks today the world endures but for an instant. We would go beyond that tiny instant to eternity. You don't have to wait to die. Just go beyond that tiny instant of what appeared to be uncomfortableness to comfort. Let the Holy Spirit comfort you. Seek His peace and His guidance. Okay, and let's go back and take a look at our associated reading. It's the last day that we'll read What is the Real World. Before I read it, the last paragraph of the introduction to these readings was right before What is Forgiveness. Our last paragraph says, one further use for words we still retain. From time to time, instructions on a theme of special relevance will intersperse our daily lessons and the periods of wordless, deep experience which should come afterwards. These special thoughts should be reviewed each day, each one of them to be continued till the next is given you. They should be slowly read and thought about a little while, preceding one of the holy and blessed instants in the day. We give the first of these instructions now. So these wordless times of silence after you've read your lesson, followed on the heels of What is the Real World today. I'm going to read it a little different. I'm not going to read it real slow like I think he really wants us to read it, but this is another way to where I can read it slowly as I move through it, a little bit more wordy. But it helps me a lot because a lot of times I'm in kind of a let's get things done mode and I can't kind of slow down. And so this kind of helps me. I wanted to just do it for you one time. What is the real world? The real world is a symbol like the rest of what perception offers. The real world is a symbol like the rest of what perception offers. Yet it stands for what is opposite to what you made, opposite to what you made. Your world is seen through eyes of fear. Your world is seen through eyes of fear and brings the witnesses of terror to your mind. Brings the witnesses of terror to your mind. The real world cannot be perceived except through eyes forgiveness blesses. The real world cannot be perceived except through eyes forgiveness blesses. So they see a world where terror is impossible and witnesses to fear cannot be found. Witnesses to fear cannot be found. The real world holds a counterpart for each unhappy thought reflected in your world. A counterpart for each unhappy thought reflected in your world. A sure correction for the sights of fear and sounds of battle which your world contains. Sure correction for the sights of fear and sounds of battle which your world contains. The real world shows the world seen differently, through quiet eyes and with a mind at peace. With quiet eyes and with a mind at peace. Nothing but rest is there. There are no cries of pain and sorrow heard, for nothing there remains outside forgiveness. There are no cries of pain and sorrow heard, for nothing there remains outside forgiveness. And the sights are gentle. The sights are gentle. Only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind that has forgiven itself. Only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind that has forgiven itself. What need has such a mind for thoughts of death, attack, and murder? What can it perceive surrounding it but safety, love, and joy? Safety, love, and joy? What is there it would choose to be condemned? And what is there it would judge against? The world it sees arises from a mind at peace within itself. The world it sees arises from a mind at peace within itself. No danger lurks in anything it sees, for it is kind, and only kindness does it look upon. No danger lurks in anything it sees, for it is kind, and only kindness does it look upon. The real world is the symbol that the dream of sin and guilt is over. The dream of sin and guilt is over, and God's Son no longer sleeps. His waking eyes perceive the sure reflection of his Father's love, the sure reflection of his Father's love, the certain promise that he is redeemed. He is redeemed. The real world signifies the end of time, for its perception makes time purposeless. The real world signifies the end of time, for its perception makes time purposeless. The Holy Spirit has no need of time when it has served his purpose. No need of time when we've served the Holy Spirit's purpose. Now he waits but that one instant more for God to take his final step. Now he waits. Now he waits that one instant more for God to take his final step. And time has disappeared, taking perception with it as it goes, and leaving but the truth to be itself. Leaving but the truth to be itself. That instant is our goal, for it contains the memory of God. When we left the truth to be itself, that instant is our goal, for it contains the memory of God. And as we look upon a world forgiven, it is he who calls to us to come to take us home. And as we look upon a world forgiven, it is he who calls to us and comes to take us home, reminding us of our identity, which our forgiveness has restored to us. Which our forgiveness has restored to us. So I do that a lot when I'm reading it, so I just wanted to encourage you with that. A way that you might find, instead of slowing down and pausing, you slow down by reading it twice, or at least and you can even change the words on it. Do it out loud or quietly. Okay, let's go back and take a look at our text reading today. And we're ready for, in the manual, not text, Manual for Teachers, Section 5, How is Healing Accomplished? Healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. Healing is impossible without this. So now he's going to, in Section 1, he's going to say the perceived purpose of sickness. Healing is accomplished the instant the sufferer no longer sees any value in pain. Who would choose suffering unless he thought it brought him something, and something of value to him? He must think it a small price to pay for something of greater worth. For sickness is an election, a decision. Can you imagine that? It's something that we decided we wanted. Don't let that get beyond your notice. For sickness is an election, a decision. It is the choice of weakness in the mistaken conviction that it is strength. When this occurs, real strength is seen as threat, and health as danger. Sickness is a method conceived in madness for placing God's Son on his Father's throne. That's the purpose of sickness. Sickness is a method conceived in madness for placing God's Son on his Father's throne. God is seen as outside, fierce and powerful, eager to keep all power for himself. Only by his death can he be conquered by his Son. Wow, you wouldn't think that we thought that, but before you say, oh, that's silly, let understand what he's really trying to say. You may actually be thinking that maybe unconsciously at this point. Back in that time, we're in that tiny instant in eternity where crept the mad thought that the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In that moment, you had clear awareness of what you were doing, trying to usurp the power of God. Paragraph 2. And what in this insane conviction does healing stand for? It symbolizes the defeat of God's Son and the triumph of his Father over him. It represents the ultimate defiance in a direct form which the Son of God is forced to recognize. It stands for all that he would hide from himself to protect his, in quotes, life. If he is healed, he is responsible for his thoughts. And if he is responsible for his thoughts, he will be killed to prove to him how weak and pitiful he is. But if he chooses death himself, his weakness is his strength. Now has he given himself what God would give to him, and thus entirely usurped the throne of his Creator. So that's the insane method when we think that we're gonna that we're in conflict, or we're trying to escape from God's punishment. Those insane ideas. Okay, the shift. Now we need to shift from that. So he's going to give us some ways on how we can do that. The shift in perception, section 2, paragraph 1. Healing must occur in exact proportion to which the valuelessness of sickness is recognized. Catch that. Healing must occur in exact proportion to which the valuelessness of sickness is recognized. One need but say, there is no gain at all to me in this, and he is healed. But to say this, one first must recognize certain facts. First, it is obvious that decisions are of the mind, not of the body. If sickness is but a faulty problem-solving approach, it is a decision. And if it is a decision, it is the mind and not the body that makes it. The resistance to recognizing this is enormous. Enormous resistance? Look what he says. If sickness is but a faulty problem-solving approach, it is a decision. And if it is a decision, it is the mind and not the body that makes it. The resistance to recognizing this is enormous, because the existence of the world as you perceive it depends on the body being the decision maker. Terms like instinct, reflexes, and the like represent attempts to endow the body with non-mental motivators. Actually, such terms merely state or describe the problem. They do not answer it. So a reflex, they're saying, is really still the mind reacting. They're trying to say that instincts and reflexes are the body acting out. I've heard people call it, when you're learning marimba, they used to say body, what's the term they used? Body memory. Try to get it in. It's really mind memory, but it seems like they call it body memory. And he's saying that all these things, actually such terms merely state or describe the problem. They do not answer it. Paragraph 2. The acceptance of sickness as a decision of the mind for a purpose for which it would use the body is the basis of healing. And get that. The acceptance of sickness as a decision. Don't forget this. The acceptance of sickness as a decision of the mind for a purpose for which it would use the body is the basis of healing. And this is so for healing in all forms. A patient decides that this is so, and he recovers. If he decides against recovery, he will not be healed. Who is the physician? Only the mind of the patient himself. Wow, there's the healer, the mind of the patient himself. The outcome is what he decides that it is. Special agents seem to be ministering to him, yet they but give form to his own choice. He chooses them in order to bring tangible form to his desires, and it is this they do and nothing else. They are not actually needed at all. Well, all those foods you eat and all those things aren't needed at all. The patient could merely rise up without their aid and say, I have no use for this. There are no form of sickness that would not be cured at once. If he really could rise up and say, I have no need of anything. I don't have any need of sickness. There is no form of sickness that would not be cured at once. What is the single requisite for this shift in perception? It is simply this: the recognition that sickness is of the mind and has nothing to do with the body. Oh, let's don't forget this. What is the single requisite for this shift in perception? It is simply this: the recognition that sickness is of the mind and has nothing to do with the body. What does this recognition cost? It costs the whole world you see, for the world will never again appear to rule the mind. For with this recognition is responsibility placed where it belongs, not with the world, but on him who looks on the world and sees it as it is not. He looks on what he chooses to see, no more and no less. The world does nothing to him. He only thought it did. Nor does he do anything to the world, because he was mistaken about what it is. Herein is the release from guilt and sickness both, for they are one. Yet to accept this release, the insignificance of the body must be an acceptable idea. The insignificance of the body must be an acceptable idea. Wow, think about that. With this idea, is pain forever gone? The idea I think he's really referring to is sickness is of the mind and has nothing to do with the body. And of course, in order to bring that into focus, the insignificance of the body must be an acceptable idea. With this idea, is pain forever gone? But with this idea goes also all confusion about creation. Does not this follow of necessity? Place cause and effect in their true sequence in one respect, and the learning will generalize and transform the world. The transfer value of one true idea has no end or limit. The final outcome of this lesson is the remembrance of God. The remembrance of God is the final outcome of this lesson. What? That the sickness is of the mind and has nothing to do with the body? What do guilt and sickness, pain, disaster, and all suffering mean now? Having no purpose, they are gone, and without them also go all the effects they seem to cause. Cause and effect but replicate creation. Seen in their proper perspective, without distortion and without fear, they reestablish heaven. Okay, let's go take a look at what's going on around the world, and keep in mind today, only an instant does this world endure. Holidays and observances, it says that it's Allantide Day, which is the feast of Saint Allan, which is kind of like, it's the Cornish celebration or the Celtic celebration of kind of Halloween or the beginning of the winter. Chicken Fried Steak Day, Day of the Deployed, where we're going to honor the military people around the world. They're doing the best they can, aren't they? Horseless Carriage Day. I'd like them to set down their arms and realize in my defenselessness my safety lies, though. Horseless Carriage Day, or just call it Auto Day today, the Automobile Day. Howl at the Moon Night, which basically connect with nature. Hug a Sheep Day, the Ovis Aries. The Kiwanis One Day, which is the Kiwanis, a club interfaith organization that serves children. Make a Difference Day. I'm sure they're making a difference, and we thank you for them. Mincemeat Pie Day, Mule Day, which is a cross between the Equus Asinus and the Equus Caballus, the horse. Pitbull Awareness Day, National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, and Pumpkin Day. And out of Seed Savers Exchange, let me tell you about a pumpkin. It's the Cornfield pumpkin. The Cornfield pumpkin, the Curcubito Pepo, first offered by Seed Savers Exchange member Glenn Drowns in 1984 yearbook from USDA Seed. This is our top pumpkin for carving and fall decorating. The fruits are flattened, light-colored, and thin-skinned and weigh 12 to 15 pounds. The very sturdy stems rarely break off. It was traditionally grown as a companion crop planted with field corn, 90 days. And of course, maybe I got a lot of Irish in me, but I like to eat my pumpkins, not just carve them and then let them go to waste. So I'd usually carve them up into a little jack-o'-lantern just a day or two before Halloween. The kids come to the door if they do. You know, where I live now, they don't really come way out here. And then I get to eat that meat and the next day. That's what I do. Okay, only an instant does this world endure, and our world, only an instant does this world endure, and our word for peace is out of the Haromotu language of Papua New Guinea, and the word is Taim belong Sikan, or Sikan. We'll say Sikan. Taim belong Sikan, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Only an instant does this world endure. Only an instant does this world endure. This is a thought which can be used to say that death and sorrow are the certain lot, of all who come. For joys are gone before they are possessed, or even grasped. Yet this is also the idea that lets no false perception keep us in its hold. No false perception keep us in its hold, nor represent more than a passing cloud upon a sky eternally serene. And it is this serenity we seek, unclouded, obvious, and sure today. Only an instant does this world endure. Only an instant does this world endure. We seek your holy world today. We seek your holy world today, the real world. For we, your loving sons, have lost our way a while. But we have listened to your voice of peace, and learned exactly what to do to be restored to heaven, and our true identity. And we give thanks today. The world endures but for an instant. We would go beyond the tiny instant to eternity. Only an instant does this world endure. 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 Next time you're feeling a little bit of like, this is a problem and it's going to last a while, remind yourself, only an instant does this world endure. And surely this will pass. Taim billing Sikan. Only an instant does this world endure. Taim billing Sikan.